Jay, if our parents had the foresight to tell us we could not take some of our childhood toys out of the box, or maybe even buy us, this is the one you keep in the box, this is the one you can play with and destroy,
Right.
would either of us be working today?
Nope. We would probably be full-time collectors and traders, just living off of our childhood collections that we had.
Yeah, I mean, I look at some of this stuff and I go, I mean, I look at like uh um Super Mario Brothers, that sealed copy of Super Mario Brothers that recently sold for a ridiculous amount of money that I will never see in
Right.
my entire lifetime, right? Um, so I think about this and I think, man, I had a lot of fun with those toys, but I could
Yeah.
have a lot more fun now if I had kept them in the box and
Right.
sold them. There's a meme thing going around that says the best part about being an adult is being able to afford being a child again.
Right,
And I
right.
think that's
And
so true.
yeah, buying all of the things that we missed out on,
Yeah.
one, and then rebuying some of the stuff. I
Yep.
mentioned all the time, how does Nintendo keep getting us to buy the same games over and over again? Well, they
Yep.
keep making them better.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So if you want to hear what some of our childhood toys were that probably should have stayed in the box, but were a lot of fun to play with, then stick around because this is Two Grandpas Talking Tech Retro versus Modern Edition. I'm your host, Grandpa Greg.
And I'm your host, Jay Benjamin. These are always so much fun because not only do we get to talk about these things and, experiences that we had, it also forces us to think and remember so many happy times and so many good times in our life. And, in our lives, we don't get into the whole which one is better, right? We talk about retro V all the time, versus modern stuff. We never really go into which one is better. I would like to, at the end of the show, pick which one we feel, is
Mm,
better, but that the whole debate, because that can go on and on and on,
yeah.
about which one is better. But man, it just forces us to think about those old memories and stuff.
Well, I will tell you, I can settle that debate in one very, very specific area. Okay.
Okay.
I went and saw the new He Man movie.
Okay. I
Now,
hadn't seen it yet.
I won't spoil it then, but don't get me wrong, it's still He Man.
Right.
But when I think about the 1984 or whatever it is version of He Man with Dolph Lundgren, that was just awful,
Right.
like ridiculously bad. And I compare it to this one, I'm like, yeah, modern is definitely better on this particular one.
Right. They got it
And
right this time.
well, I don't know that they got it right, but they definitely got it a lot better. They still leaned way more into some of the humor and
Hmm.
stuff that I wanted them to. But the cool thing was, my wife knew I wanted to go see it, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go see this. If you wanna go see The Devil Wears Prada 2 or, whatever like that," she's like, "Okay, okay." But then when it came down to it, she's like, "Actually, I wanna go see He-Man with you," because she remembers going home every day after school and
Hmm.
having to run home in order to make it in time to watch He-Man on TV.
Right.
So, yeah, so she actually went with me. We had nice luxury seats. I had a pretzel. We ate popcorn, all the good things. And it was just total nostalgia because it had Trapjaw, who was my favorite villain of
Yeah.
all of them. So, yeah, it was like super, super cool. So, definitely the 2026 version is way better than the 1980s version, which was just
Right.
awful.
Right. And usually that's not the case, right? Because not that this is a remake. Well, I guess you can call it a remake, a reboot, as they call them, right? It's still the same franchise. It's just a different vision of it. Um, that's really the case where the newer
Yeah.
version is better than the old one. But in this case, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that old
No,
1980s
I
version
mean,
either.
good gotta admit, the bar was pretty low to be better to start with, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
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 So let's talk. I'll start off. Um, because there's two memories I want to share around some of mine, but I have five toys or five types of toys that I really, really remember. And He-Man is the first one that I put on my list, mostly because I had just seen the movie. That's what prompted me to say, hey, let's talk about this. But
Right.
I had Castle Grayskull that opened up. I had Cringer with the Battle Cat armor. I had a couple of versions of He-Man, the little ski thing that they fly on. I had Trapjaw, again, my
Mhm.
favorite. You had to have Skeletor. Skeletor in the new movie is really good, by the way. Even some of the humor that he had could have been thrown out, but anyway. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I had all the He-Man stuff. And if I thought, man, if that stuff was all in pristine condition
Yeah.
right now
All
while the
originals.
movie is out, jeez.
Yeah, yeah, you'll be able to name your price. So I see your list. I did leave a few things off of my list because there was crossover, right? We're just gonna talk about it together.
Yep.
But I'm with you. I had a lot of He-Man. I had a lot of the characters. I think what's the guy with the he was a bee. Was it Buzzard?
I don't remember that one. And he was not in the
Yeah,
movie.
and he was one of my favorite ones and one of my favorite toys too that I had. So yeah, I'm with you. I had lots of He-Man.
Yep. So the next one on my list, similar thing, which is no surprise. I have a lightsaber behind my head over here. Um, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I had the Darth Vader helmet that was the carrying case for all the figures. I had the Millennium Falcon, which you kind of had to have, right? I had all the figures, same kind of deal. How much would those figures all be worth now in great condition? But by the time I was done with this stuff, they were not in great condition because
Right.
I played with these things, right? I mean, these were the toys, right? I was definitely not worried about my future when I had them. I just wanted to have fun and enjoy these toys. So,
Yeah.
similar to He-Man, just tons and tons of the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. So I have a confession on that. Now I know anybody that's looking, they hear us talk about Star Wars all the time and they'll look back and they'll see my lightsabers and in the background, but I never was a huge Star Wars fan. I
Mm.
am now. I am now as an adult, right? Growing up, I always considered myself more a Trekkie. And I
Yeah, well,
know I don't have any Star Trek, memorabilia or things. I have some of the coolest gadgets though. I have some of the coolest replicas and things like that, but nothing displayed in the back. And I always considered myself a Trekkie. So I never really had many Star Wars toys. Actually, I say many. I can't think of any that I had.
wow.
I
All
can't
right.
think of anything that I had other than these lightsabers as an adult. Um, Now I had T-shirts and things like that, and but no, not many Star Wars
Mm,
toys.
all right. Well, what about Voltron? Did you have the cats for Voltron?
I did, and Voltron is pretty high up on my list of childhood toys that I love. That and one of my top ones that I'll get to here in a moment when I go down my list, but probably second to that would be Voltron. And one of my memories, and I saw it on your list. We used to have a chain of stores called Garden Ridge Pottery here in Houston, and the building's still there. The building is actually they repurposed it to like a flea market kind of a kind of thing, but the building's still there. And every time I pass through there, I have this memory of going in and seeing the Voltron statue, the whole set, right? They would sell them
Mhm.
individually, but they had the whole set and wanting that set so bad and just all of the work and the chores I did. And my mom had a friend, he's an older guy, so we would call him Paw Paw, but he wasn't my grandpa. I had my grandpa, but I would go with him to collect scrap metal. And
Nice.
he would give us money. He had his actual grandson was around my same age, so we would go together and finally getting enough money, and she took me to Garden Ridge Pottery, and we bought that, and that is one of my favorite childhood memories, and just, being with my mom and her taking me, and just so much happiness and joy that day of achieving that goal, and bought the whole set, and probably came home and quickly destroyed it a few weeks after as children
Yeah.
do, breaking all the toys. But yes, Voltron is, yeah, one of those fond memories, man, and one of those toys that I just love.
But there were a lot of moving pieces to it, and most people listening to the show would probably think you gotta think Power Rangers and, Power
Yeah, the
Rangers coming
Megazords.
together into the
Right.
Megazord, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, you had to open up the bottom ones, and you had to fold everything together, and then the feet went down in, the boots, and you had to put the arms on and tw move the chest and move the head, and, it was just
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Now, I've tried watching the cartoon a couple of times. It was terrible. That thing was
Right.
just awful, but I
Right, right.
loved it as a kid. It was probably one of my favorite cartoons when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, which is why I think, we talked earlier about, like, He-Man and how the newer version is usually not better than the original, but I think so many people love the Netflix version of Voltron because it was better. It was newer, it was modern, but it still kept that
yeah.
same, the storylines that we love. So yeah, and that's another example of modern being better than the old one because
Yep.
those old ones they're pretty hard watches.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna mention another one here, and then I think you have one that's similar. So my memory of this one is, uh, I had a s my mom's mom divorced, and I grew up knowing both grandpas.
Okay.
But one of them lived in Colorado and the other one lived close to us, but every year for Christmas, he'd wanna know what we wanted for Christmas, and I still remember getting totally chewed out one year for giving him my Christmas list. My mom's like, "You do not do that, blah, 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 blah," right? Um,
Right.
but it was the year that I got remember the boxes that, like, shirts used to come in that were, almost like the size of a cake pan, and they had the top and the bottom, you had to pull the top off
Right.
and all that kinda
Yeah.
stuff? I got a whole box of those full of GoBots.
Nice.
Yeah, and so
Now
I
that
was like,
that has to be an awesome gift to open on Christmas.
that was so cool. There were probably 15 or 20 of the
Yeah.
GoBots in there, and so I know you've got one on there that's similar. It's like the upgraded version of the GoBots. But the
Yeah. Yeah.
GoBots
Now
were my thing, right? Because I wasn't going down the other path, but it was just so cool to have them and change them and have the good guys and the bad guys. That was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, and I did love the GoBots. I had a few GoBots, but yeah, it was the Transformers that were it for me, and still to this day, I have a few of them. I have a G1, Ultra Magnus, and still in really good condition. It wasn't my original one from when I grew up, but it was one that I bought as an adult, as a collector, and a lot of this stuff. So when my daughter was born, she took my game room. That was my game room slash office. When I would work remotely, that's where I would spend most of the day. And I had to give up the room, so a lot of stuff is in storage or in totes or in the attic. So I don't have room to just buy stuff that I want, but I still want. Never got a complete set of the Constructicons, which is one of my favorite ones because they merge together just like Voltron, just like the Power Ranger Zord. They merge together to form Devastator, which is the big green and purple robot.
Mm.
Never got a whole set. Want to buy it as an adult, just don't have the room for it. But yeah, Transformers is on my list of one of my favorite toys. And another fond memory, uh, buying not Soundwave, but remember his chest would open and the tapes would pop out. And
Mhm.
my mom taking me, and this memory really stands out because this was one of the times where we were going to the Toys R Us, and there's this location we passed by the blimp, the Goodyear blimp, uh what do they call it? Airfield. I guess it was the airfield. And the blimp wasn't in the air. It was actually in the airfield. And we rode by it and got to see it up close. Well, close enough, from the freeway. It wasn't, you know, 1,000 feet in the air. And yeah, got to see the blimp and went and bought it was Rumble and Ravage and Frenzy, I think was the other robot. His name was Frenzy. But yeah, yeah, Transformers was but GoBots too were another fun toy that I used to have.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna share one. This is a core memory. It's a kind of a different core memory, and don't think anything less of me because of this. But when I was a kid, there's a lot of context in this, but when I was a kid, pound puppies were the big thing. These were
They
these
were.
abandoned dog stuffed animals that you would get, and they'd have a collar and all those cool
Mhm.
kinds of things. So I wanted a pound puppy so bad, but they were kind of like Cabbage Patch Kids when Cabbage Patch
Yeah,
Kids
they
got
were
so
like the boy
popular,
version of the Cabbage
and they
Patch.
were
Yeah,
ridiculously expensive
yeah,
because for the time because they were in such demand. And I still remember wanting that so bad. And um, my grandma made a homemade one. And this is
right.
my grandma. She's the one that most recently passed. It was my dad's mom. And she made a homemade pound puppy, and I ended up getting it. I can't remember if we bought it at like a church auction that she had done it for a service or something like that. But anyway, I ended
Mhm.
up with this pound puppy, and I was so disappointed. Um, because it wasn't as
It wasn't the
soft.
pump.
It
Right.
wasn't, yeah, I mean, it just wasn't the thing. And so, looking back on that, I think, man, I was an idiot. Right. And I
Yeah,
still wish to this day that I had that pound puppy. Right.
right.
Even though it
You
wasn't
don't
the
remember what
official
happened
one.
to it?
Nope. I don't.
Yeah,
I just remember being so disappointed because it was hard and it wasn't soft and it didn't look just right. And so, we learn from this stuff. So talk about, I mean, this is a
right.
nostalgia moment for me, but remembering how much all of because my parents got married super, super young, right? My mom was 16 when I was born. My dad was only
Yeah,
19. So, and they got married um, shortly after I was born. And um, so they didn't have a lot, right? They
yeah,
didn't have money to do this kind of stuff. And so I can think back to these times when I was very, very much ungrateful, right? And
yeah,
think about, man, what a jerk I was. Yet my parents tried so hard to provide the things that I thought would make me happy, right? I mean,
yeah.
I remember years where my grandparents bought a cabin and we wanted to be able to go in during the winter. And so he found 3 used snowmobiles that were a pain in the butt to keep running and would die like every
Right.
2 miles, right? But dude, I had snowmobiles that I could ride around town or ride up
Yeah,
into the cabin, and did I have to fiddle with them a ton and all that kind of stuff? Yes. Was I disappointed that they weren't the latest and greatest that could fly through everything? Yeah, I was such a jerk. So, when I think about these toys, and this is what the Pound Puppy brings back to me, is just how much my parents tried to make all of this stuff
yeah,
good. I had the He-Man toys. I had the Star Wars toys. My grandparents gave me great presents like a box full of GoBots for Christmas, right? And so,
yeah,
if there's any youngins listening out there, your parents are trying really hard, right,
yeah.
to help you be happy, to help you be successful. And so, don't do what I did. Be grateful for a lot of these things because you're going to get to be our age and you're going to go, man, I wish I had acted differently. So, sorry, that was a little bit of a detour, but pound puppy was the thing. I still wish I had my pound puppy, my homemade pound
Yeah.
puppy.
Well, I don't know, Greg, because I can think of a lot of stories just like that where I was just being an ungrateful little, little
Yeah.
brat. And I think that, like we always say, everything that we've been through makes us the person that we are.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So maybe it took stuff like that to make you appreciate things more. You
Fair.
know what I mean? To make you look back. And, you look back on it with like, oh man, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have handled that better when we should be looking back on these as fond memories,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
they may
that's
not
fair.
be the greatest of memories, but they're still core memories that shape the person that we are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I'm
And
with you.
and these
Y-
toys and these experiences that Jason and I are trying to share through this whole series, like last time we talked about how we listened to music growing up, and before that it was how we went to movies and all of those kinds of
Yeah,
things. This is who we are, and we are this way
Right.
because of those experiences. So yeah, I wish I had been better. Wish I had been more grateful. Wish I had been able to see, but you're right. Now I look back and I see things very differently. And hopefully I
Yeah.
can pass that on to my kids, my grandkids, because now I'm on the other side when I try my best to do something and it doesn't go perfectly
Right.
and I don't get a good reaction. I'm like, you ungrateful little brat, right?
Yeah. Right. Right. But we've been there before. And, now we get to see both sides of it. So
Yep.
hopefully, and I'm the same with my son, with Jay he just, hopefully he's picking up on these things and he
Yep.
can look back on it and regret it. So,
Yep.
you know.
All right, let's get back on to happy stuff. Jay, you had one more item on your list. So,
Yeah. So, well, two more. So
oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah.
what
I
replaced
missed
Star
one.
Wars for me was G.I. Joe.
Mm.
And not just any G.I. Joe, but all of the vehicles
Oh,
and the
wow.
jet planes and the rocket ships. And man, I just had so many of them that and I don't have a clue what happened to them. I don't know where
Mm.
they are. I know growing up, I probably lost a majority of them in storage. Whenever my mom, we had to get a storage because we were moving and we lost the storage somehow. But yeah, just everything. I remember having um, the Nighthawk jet, and it was all chromed out and silver. It was part of its stealth appeal. And man, I remember having that thing till the chrome was peeling off of it. Like you could actually see the white plastic underneath and on the edges and stuff like that. Just loved it. Just loved it so much. GI Joe was pretty high on my list. Um, Another one that I guess kinda replaced He-Man for me, and the toys were similar, but, this is another thing too, they started adding the vehicles and the accessories and stuff like G.I. Joe did, but it was Thundercats, and I remember having a mini Sword of Omens that the eye lit up when you pressed the button on the side. I remember having the castle. Um, and the name of it, I know people are probably gonna be like, "Yo, you're not a true fan." I don't remember the name of the castle, but oh, it's Thundercat's lair. I remember having the lair and the paws would let up and you can have vehicles come in and out and you can shoot like the head was like a little Nerf gun where you can shoot missiles and stuff out of it. And oh man, just so many good memories. I love Thundercats and love G.I. Joe. So that was my list of just childhood toys. Now there was a ton of toys too
Yeah.
that we picked up, but these are just our top picks because
Yep.
there were so many that I can name that I don't even remember the name of some of these. Remember Silverhawks? That was another one that these were really cool. They were just like they were kind of like Thundercats, but they were a bird version. So they were
Okay.
Silverhawks. Those were really cool toys. Just a lot. I can name a lot of 'em. Remember the Dick Tracy movie? When it came out with Warren Beatty and they had the toy line of yep. Actually, my contact photo for you too on the phone is when you were doing the Dick Tracy thing in the Apple store when we were there.
That was so
So
awesome.
those toys were really cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can go on and on and on talking about our childhood toys, but I think the next part we're going to talk about some adult toys, right?
Yeah, and you're gonna have to carry this one because I struggled to think about things that I would consider toys because, like, you're into your, uh, game cabinets and some
Yeah.
of those kinds of
Yeah.
things, but I've never gone back into, which is funny because I go to Disney so often, right?
Yeah.
It's funny that I just have never gotten back into wanting to collect any of this stuff. Sidebar, I put on our list of things to talk about
Mhm.
Legos.
Right.
I think talking
Right.
about Lego sets that we would love to have, my problem is I don't have anywhere to put them because otherwise I would have already bought the new Black Pearl pirate ship that
Yes.
came out. Oh my goodness, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, talk about having to be an adult to be able to afford to be a kid again. Those things are ridiculously expensive. But anyway, so I've just never so I'm gonna just do my list real fast and then you can share with there. But if I think about things that I would consider toys, all I could come up with are my bikes
Yeah.
and like my iPads and stuff like that that aren't like full on necessities that I do a lot of reading or those kinds of things on, but I've just never like I have my Nintendo Switch, but I don't even have a desire to get the next Switch other than there's a couple of games I'd like
Right,
to
the
play.
Mario Kart and yeah.
Yeah, the Donkey Kong Bonanza and a couple of those kinds of things, but I don't even have that sort of drive. And so I wonder if I'm going to psychoanalyze myself. I wonder if
Okay,
that's why when I go to Disney, I sort of become a kid again, right?
right.
And I disconnect from the rest of reality and my brain react or relaxes and I don't worry about work or those kinds of things. So I wonder if that's how I get out my child, right? And
Yeah,
get out there and say doing stuff like that. And the other thing I've learned over time is I really wish when my kids were smaller we had focused more on experiences than some other things
mhm,
because the things I remember the most, yes, I remember the toys, but I remember the experiences around the toys, right? I remember the snowmobile breaking down, driving into the cabin, right?
yeah.
That's what I remember more than riding the snowmobile around town. And so I just wish I had learned earlier to focus more on experiences than on some of this other stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of boring as an adult for toys. So I'm super would love to hear what you have to say about some of these items on your list.
Yeah, well, speaking of you at Disney, we were looking at those pictures again. We have a shared album, up. You still have one up, and, yeah, you are a different person when you're
Mhm.
there. You seem more relaxed, you seem really at peace, and I see it in some of the pictures that you share, especially the one not the last trip, but the one with the grandkids, and you're running around and you're yelling and you're screaming in some of the pictures, and it, it just it seems like I feel like we're missing out not going to Disney. I know we love the cruise, and we take our little short trips here and there, but I really feel like we're missing out not going to Disney. And when we
You
look
tell
at
me
those
when you're
pictures and
going. Tell me when you're going. If I can be there, I got you.
yeah, yeah, I think we need to start planning that pretty soon. But, but yeah, back to my list, I started off with these nostalgia traps, right? And what I mean by that is exactly what I mean. It's a way for companies to sell us the same things over again, and we buy them
Ocarina of
just like we
Time.
buy yeah, over and over again. I can't tell you how many times I've bought something that, I've owned as a child, right? And it is not just toys, right? I talk about toys, but I see it with these retro Air Jordans that they release and these
Mhm.
sneakerhead, these guys and I remember my mom buying them for like $90 back then. These guys are spending like five and $600 on shoes that I had when I was, 9 and 10 years
Right.
old. So talk about nostalgia traps. It's not just toys, it's anything that they can play on those emotions and stuff, just like the stories and stuff that we just told.
Mhm.
Companies know that, and they say, "Hey, these guys on Two Grandpas Talking Text, they're doing retro V. Let's re-release all of these toys and let's get these guys to buy these toys over again." Not that they do it just for us, they do it for everyone, right? They play on those core memories that we have. So while I do fall for it from time to time, I'm like you. I don't have place to store these things. Um, so I try to avoid them, but I do fall for it, especially when it comes to video games. I had my finger on the button just the other day to buy Resident Evil 2, which was a big game for me in my childhood. They remade it. It looks absolutely amazing. And it's on the iPad and it runs perfectly on the iPad. Finger on the button. I saw on Reddit that someone says, hey, that thing goes on sale for like $10 all the time. So I had to calm myself down, like, hey, let's just wait for one of these $10 sales. 4th of July is coming up. Maybe Capcom will have a sale or something, but they say it goes on sale for $10 all the time. So took my finger off of the button and I'm gonna wait. And those are the nostalgia traps that I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
so I've got this lightsaber that I built over my head, right? And I'm sitting
yeah.
here going, I'm going back in September. I already told my wife, I think I'm going to go build a second one.
Yeah.
What am I going
Yeah.
to do with it? Absolutely nothing. But would it be cool to have them crossing on my wall
It
at
would
work? or
It
something
would
like
really
that.
be cool.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah,
said, "Oh, and then you know what? I probably need to build the 3rd one at some point because then each of the grandkids can inherit one."
right, right, and you can just pass them along.
Yeah, yeah, right?
Man, wouldn't that be something? Like, most people like, "Oh, it's my grandpa left me his watch. My grandpa left me," no, my grandpa left me his lightsaber that he built at
Yeah,
Galaxy's Edge. That
yep,
is really cool.
yeah,
So, but yeah, nostalgia traps, stay away from them. They're a way to play on our emotions to get money, unless you really love it, right?
yeah.
Again, I still want my complete set of Devastator of Constructicons, but I'll just have to keep putting it off.
And look, I spend everybody chooses how they spend their money. And
Yeah,
if it makes you happy, then does it really need to make sense to
yeah,
anyone
yeah,
else, right? I mean, I have little things from Disney all over in here. I was just thinking I have my mom's favorite Christmas movie was A Christmas Story,
right,
and this is the pink nightmare suit on a dog from Cane's. But my sister found these and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this was mom's favorite movie." So it sits here on my desk. Is it
yeah,
worth anything? Nope. Does it make me
yeah,
remember my mom? Yep.
yeah,
And I hope that someday my grandkids go, I remember grandpa loved Pirates of the Caribbean, and I have a Pirates of the Caribbean shirt from grandpa, or I have the lightsaber grandpa built at Disney, or that let me help him build, or something like that, right?
yeah,
That's what the kind of, besides the legacy of what kind of a person and all those kinds of things that I was, but those are the kinds of things like my grandpa was into trap shooting. And
yeah.
so he won all kinds of trap meets. And so he had buckles and everybody got to choose a buckle. And so I have a
Nice.
buckle that was one of his awards that he got
Yeah,
for,
that he earned.
yeah,
That he
yeah.
earned.
So,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway,
yeah, yeah. Really cool. So next, I have as part of anime, it's a anime series called Mobile Suit Gundam. The giant mech suits, basically.
okay.
Just that giant robots that human gets in and they control. Uh, Modeling, Gunpla, as they call it, is basically building scale models of that. So, of course, these things are 3 or 4 stories tall. So a scale model, would be
Hmm.
about 5 inches tall. But um, that's a really um, relaxing hobby for me that I love
Sure.
to do. I don't have the space for it or the time for it, but I still have a lot of kits just lined up to where whenever I get the free time, I'll be able to do it. But just building those things from piece by piece um, is it's very, very fun, very relaxing.
You should
So
take one on your next cruise and sit out on the deck of the ship and put it together.
I should, man, that would be a lot of fun.
Talk about a core memory, right? The sun
Yeah,
setting
yeah,
over the water. You're just putting the last piece on the model.
yeah. Double relaxation. Double relaxation. You know what? I do need to, and I see people, while you mention that, people sit out and they put together puzzles or they'll, do crossword puzzles in the book and stuff like that. And they're just lined up on the deck watching the sunset and stuff like that. So yeah,
There's no difference between that and reading a book on deck.
yeah, yeah. And they just line up. They'll all be lined up just doing it. And it's so quiet and so peaceful. Yeah, I think I have one down that's not stored in the attic too that I bought recently. That one might go with us on our
There you
next
go.
cruise.
See, you're welcome.
So the last one is my grown-up adult toys, and that's my Ryobi tools that I love. And just bought a 3/8 inch ratchet the other day, Ryobi days, and that's the deal I told you about. You buy the battery basically, and you get a free
Uh-huh.
tool. The batteries are on sale for really cheap, although they really cheaped out this year and gave us a smaller battery instead of two 4 amp hours. They give you a 4 and a 2 amp hour battery. I thought was a little rip off, but shrinkflation. But yeah, my yard tools are some of my adult toys that I enjoy playing with.
See, here's the thing. Jay and I have a lot in common. We like
Yeah.
sci-fi, we like tech, we do a lot of these kinds of things. And this one, I just don't get in any way, shape, or form. So I have enough Ryobi tools. I think I have
Yep.
4 batteries, 2 chargers, a leaf blower, a drill, a impact driver, and a
Yep.
Sawzall.
I remember when you went to the store, you bought everything you needed. And I think you actually took one back. You took a blower or something back and you were like,
Yeah,
"Ah, I don't really need it."
that is what I have. They get used all the time,
Yeah.
but beyond that, I'm just like, like, some people have enough batteries that they can power the Ryobi generator thing,
Yeah.
right? Because you gotta have, like, 12 of the batteries to plug into that thing and just no,
Yeah.
that's just not gonna happen. So, I understand your other stuff, the modeling, nostalgia traps, all of your childhood toys. I just I cry every time I have to spend money on a tool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I love it. And, just always having the right tool for the right job. And I think that 18-volt system is just having the same battery for everything. If I had to
Yeah,
buy 3 different battery types, then probably not even 2 different ones, but being able to use one battery and I always just run I have I have the separate chargers too, but I have one that charges 6 batteries at one time. Just run and grab one, pop it in the tool,
yeah.
go to work. It just yeah. Yeah.
Alright. Well, anything else, Jay?
No, that was it. Definitely, guys, share any of toys that we miss. Something that was more popular than what we named that we forget. Put it down in the comments. Let us know and let us know some of your memories that you had
Yep.
with those devices too.
Yeah, check us out at the Tech Grandpas. We'll get these episodes dropped, and then I'm sure we'll have something in a couple more weeks to chat about. Check out our regular show. One little programming thing, I haven't talked to Jay about this, but we might actually start separating our feeds. So we might have the channel for the retro stuff and a channel for the tech stuff. I don't know. I've been thinking a little bit about doing some of that kind of stuff. So let us know if you're following us and you're watching these and you're going, yeah, I really only watch every other week, or I don't watch all the time just because I don't know if I'm getting the tech episode or this retro stuff and I like one versus the other.
Right.
I'd love to get some feedback because we definitely want to make content that people appreciate. Honestly, this is just a great conversation. Jay and I have so much going on in our lives.
Yeah.
We love the tech stuff, and we feel like we want that to be a little more educational and practical. These retro versus modern episodes to me are like therapy, right?
Yeah.
So it's
We
just,
just like to share.
yeah,
We just like to share these memories. Like at the start of the show when I was saying, it's fun to talk about this stuff, but it's also fun to remember.
yep,
You know, like you said, you can't remember even riding the snowmobile around, but you just remember it breaking down and having to
yep,
tinker with it and fix it, which is probably gave you your technical mindset that you have now
yeah,
anyway.
yep.
So
So
yeah,
yeah, let us know. We'd love to get your feedback. Check us out at thetechgrandpas.com. There's a feedback form on there. Let us know. I know we're both going to have some vacation time coming up in September, probably. Jay's probably going on a cruise. I got a
yeah,
Disney trip. I might decide to record an episode from Disney because I thought that might be kind of fun if we don't overlap while you're on the cruise and I'm on the trip. So, but yeah, let us know what you think. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.
yep. Thanks, guys. See you next week.